anyway, just to make it clear, because, you know, I have to, we're going to be talking about Bedford Who today. I can reveal where I was now. So, I'm gonna make this clear. If anybody comes in here raging about the reality war or Doctor Who is shit now or whatever because they saw the title, this is what... Normally, this is one day blinding stew. But I have tweaked it so it's 1 minute blinding stew. If anybody comes in here and causes shit, they're either gonna get the 1 minute blinding stew or the ultimate ban blinding stew. This is a very suspicious stew on the screen right now. I am a genius and I have tweaked it. This is to ensure new people will behave very well. So anyway, that's the blinding stew speech out of the way. So, as you guys know, I had to cancel stream on Friday. This is because we had to drive out quite early. Although I am in the area to be able to drive down for a day trip, it still is not close to where I live. So I both had to go to bed early and get up early to get ready quick enough to head out. My ADHD brain, in all its wisdom, decided it was a wonderful idea to not sleep until 2 a.m. So that was a great start. It isn't a bad day, by the way, just a spoiler in case you guys are worrying. Stew with varying temperatures. Yeah, exactly. It's a suspicious stew. That's what we have for the misbehaving people. Anyway, so I got up, rushed doing everything to get ready, and we were off, basically. I did not even have time to get caffeinated. I had time for breakfast. I had time to basically, get ready. That was it. And then we were gone. So here's the fun part, basically. This is gonna be the fun part. When we walked into the convention center, they basically didn't scan my ticket. They went, oh, that looks like tickets to me, and they fucking let me in. They gave me a token for autographs. This is something that I've never seen at a con before. So basically, when you walk in, yeah, security isn't great, but this is a tiny con. So Bedford Who's a charity con, so keep that in mind. It's very tiny, very local. I'm not expecting many people to want to go just from this stream alone. But when you go in, there was a bunch of props on display. They were mostly replicas, but I get to show you guys because I was allowed to take photographs. You are allowed to take photographs of the props. Great news for me as a streamer, because I get to show you the props now. I'm not going to do it in any particular order. I'm just going to show you from my folder that I've made for this, for today. A folder I made specifically for today. Filled with pictures. So, first on the list here that I can see. Okay. Here we go. I'm just going to use the same thing on stream. And I will resize them as necessary. But it saves me having to make a new one every time. Here are some costume props from various eras of Who right here. These, obviously you recognize the Cybermen first and foremost. Some of these are incredibly tall compared to me. The Cybermen were especially tall and very intimidating IRL. I know when you watch the TV show you don't feel that way, but oh my god. Looking at some of these props, they were so much taller than I was. And god, I can see why some of the actors did say they sometimes felt unnerved when they went up behind you. Oh, there's multiple cyber costumes too. You're not just going to see this era. I haven't gotten into them all yet. But one's Sontaran, as you can see, a helmet is Sontaran. I don't know if they have the mask under there, which is why it's helmeted. Some of these are replicas. They are not originals, but they are perfect replicas to what you've seen in the episodes right here. Let me move myself, actually, so you can still see me. You can still see the photographs. So basically, these are some of the first ones I saw in the folder, but let's go ahead and let me show you some others. There was a stage with these props up top. there was a TARDIS console and a reaching out, and it's another Ear of a Cyberman costume. Oh, this one is a funny image. I jokingly said to Anime, I took this picture too. I went up on the stage, you took this, because there was nobody monitoring this, by the way. This guy, I was cosplaying Romana. An outfit inspired by Romana. So, Romana too. So she was into school uniform. So I have no photos in my folder for that, but I will censor a photo at some point, and I'll show you guys one day when I have the confidence. But basically, I was jokingly saying, well, he thought I was a certain time lady, and he was out to grab me. Yeah, there was a lot of trust at this con. And to be fair, I'm gonna make this clear to you guys. Everyone at the con was perfectly behaved. Like, I have never seen this level of perfect behavior ever at a big event. Everyone respected everything. And the person running the con was walking the floor so rigorously and making sure everybody was in line for everything. It was impressive how secure the con was, because he was yelling. He had his teacher voice on, I think. He was basically making sure everybody knew the rules. But basically, everybody was extremely well behaved. I will tell you this, they were very lucky that the Doctor Who fandom is such a well-behaved fandom, especially in the Classic Who zone. And I can tell you, as somebody who's been in the fandom for years, the Classic Who fans are so gentle. And they are so well-behaved around young'uns like I was back in the day. Yeah, he was an ex-Jeopardy headmaster and it showed. Yeah, he was. He was pretty open about that. But I joked that he recognized me as, Romana instead of myself and tried to get me. I was thinking about editing this picture at some point and posting it to social media of my model getting grabbed. But I wanted to show you guys this picture before anybody. I wanted to show you some of these pictures before anybody else saw online. Here's one. Here's another one. I got the proper picture of Davros. This is one of the original Davros costumes. This is not a Russell T Davies era costumes. We will discuss the costume of Davros in a while. But for now, we're going to talk about... I'm going to show you guys what it looked like in the hall. But here's the Davros picture. As you can see, it was seeing the pictures do not do them justice. Seeing them IRL is so different. I'm gonna be real. It's such an experience. I'm sure you guys remember the recent, one of the recent seasons of Shitagatwa. We've got some props from the original story here on the table. And we have Sea Devils. This is one of the costumes behind tape. It was really strict on, you could not take a picture beside it, like some of the others. But they were really strict on some of these costumes, because I think some of them are older and rarer, even if they're replicas, so they had some very strict rules. Again, the photos I'm showing you right now do not live up to IRL. I'm going to be real, they were so intimidating in real life. I could see... You just felt like these were fucking frightening to children at some point. I mean, if I was a child, they would have scared me. Even older costume, they had actually put a mannequin inside it. I'll show you the up-close picture in a minute. But this was one of the OG costumes of the Cybermen. Terrifying. It was really intimidating. They are so tall. I mean, I'm only 5'2". These were so fucking tall. It's insane. The closer I got to some of these costumes, the more I had to crane my neck to look up at them. And they did look so fucking creepy. I mean, again, the photos don't live it down how creepy they were. So I'm gonna show you the up close, because I need you guys to see what they did. There are eyes in this costume. Mannequin eyes. They purposely put a mannequin in the costume. And they put these sharp blue fucking haunted eyes right inside of the eye holes. You can see that? Oh my god. When they're standing over you, it's even creepier when they did that. Holy shit. They did not hold back for that. Yeah, I know. It's like being way shorter than this thing. And then standing up and looking at it, because I did come up close. It is intimidating. Fucking intimidating. I'm not even kidding to be up close to these. Imagine this costume with grainy black and white filters. It's horrifying. On this table, there was actually a couple of things. I'm going to show you the first one first. Different thing here. There was another Cyberman helmet, and another one from a different era, and there was some models on the table, including replica cyber guns. You'll notice a theme of this con for the replicas. Have you guys noticed a theme? There's a lot of Cybermen. We're going to go into that in a minute, because there is a reason why they have a lot of Cybermen on display here for this particular con, because there is a theme for this one. I'm going to give you a close-up of these models here, because this is the really interesting historical part. Back in the day, before, let me get the photo up, before there was any proper CGI for Doctor Who, in order to show a spaceship, or in order to show like an image of a spaceship, instead of CGI, they used small miniature models, and these are some of the models they used for spaceships back in the day. These are replicas of some of the models they made in order to create that effect, to show a spaceship flying through space or anywhere else. It's kind of cool because, like I said, looking at them in IRL is a different experience. It really does make you appreciate the effort and the work they went through back then in order to give you that feeling of immersion. But this is basically what they were. This is how they did it back in the day before CGI. They would make miniatures of like locations and landscapes and spaceships and put them on screen with cameras in a way that made them look bigger than they were, which was pretty impressive back in the day. I'm gonna be real, back in the day, this was impressive, and these were really intricate models. They were actually more detailed than you think they were. There was a lot of love put into this show back in the classic era, especially. When they had nothing, they went through every bit of imagination and thought power in order to create stuff the way the writing imagined it. I'm going to show you guys off another monster costume. Right here. Another thing from the, Pyramids of Mars, right beside this thing. I know what you guys are going to say. Get out your system. Ha ha ha, tentacle beast. Get it out your system, chat. I know you're going to do it. As someone who's been in the Godzilla fandom, it's just yeah, they're a very common tool in Godzilla too. And a lot of sci-fi and a lot of stuff like that. Miniatures were a very common tool before the invention of proper CGI. I think Elizabeth Sladen has talked about in the past when chroma key first became a thing in the film industry. And what they had to tell her to do for the chroma key. It's really interesting hearing about the tech from then and now, because it was so different back in the day. I did some close-ups of some of the cyber costumes to show you, an attempt to show you just how short I am compared to them. This is another one from the old days. I think it's from the second Doctor era, if I recall correctly. Obviously, the inside of the helmets has become very rotten over the years. You'll find a lot of the prosthetics that needed liquid of some form. Does not look good now. But this is like one of the older ones. I don't think the pictures show simply how short I am in comparison to these fucking figures. And I don't think I got quite close enough to show it, but I didn't want to test my luck and make any of the staff worry that I was going to do something to the costume, because I wasn't. But I just wanted to show you guys how intimidatingly tall these things looked. And I don't think it was quite there, but I think it does show how close to the ceiling they are. Simply how close to the ceiling these costumes are. So, basically, horrifying. If I were a small child, I would cry seeing that too. Another example here that I tried to get. These ones were slightly shorter than the others, but you can see how scary they could be if you were a little child. As you can see, they actually had gates in the eyes now. They no longer showed human eyes that often. I think this is when about they tried to remove as much of the human identity from the Cybermen as much as possible. Again, we're going to learn why this is a theme in a while when we go through the story time. I've got plenty of photos I can't show yet, but I wanted to show you guys the props because I figured it would give more time for people to come in. And hey, look, even more cyber helmets, from different eras and different stories. But you might recognize some of these. If you do, you're fucking brain rotted to Docky Who. You're brain rotted. It's the brain rot test. But it's pretty cool seeing all of these on display for anybody to look at. These were in the hall all day, so you had plenty of opportunity to go look at them if you wanted to for the day. Okay, what else do I have for the props that I could show you guys? Because they'll jog my memory. Oh, another one. Another one right here. This one is really freaky. This one is mega freaky. I did my best to take the photos as best I could with the best quality that I had. I was trying to take them at really good angles, especially the more detailed costumes. Oh, there's another I want to show you guys, but I'm going to show you this one first. The prosthetics here are freaking cool for the eras. Can I be real? But they look like hell to be in, and that's going to be a topic in a bit, actually. But my god, some of these masks were IRL. Gosh dang. The amount of love and work that had to go into these. Did I save it to the correct folder? Because you guys have to see it. Cat. We have the cats from Survival. This is the cat costume from Survival, which is fitting because, as you know, this is when the master had an identity crisis and tested out what being a furry felt like. And god, again, it looks so jank now. But back when I watched this story when I was a kid, oh my god, did these guys seem scarier than they were. This is when we go into the best part, which is probably the main reason why you go to Bedford Who, and the stuff that I've written the most notes on. But before we go, I've got to talk about the con floor. There were Daleks. Not just on display, actual moving Daleks and people voicing them on the con floor. They were approaching and threatening people. We walked into the con and got threatened by a Dalek to keep moving. And the Dalek voice. They were moving all around the con and rotating. They kind of were just yapping at people and yelling at people. And some people were casually talking to them. There were con staff that were rotating turns with the Dalek roll. There were at least 3 on the floor of different era Daleks. Like, I wish I got pictures of them. I probably should have. When I thought about it, I should have asked them to turn for me and allow me to take a picture for you guys. And I'd even tell them, take a picture because my chat will love you guys. But basically, there were people dressed in the Cybermen costumes too. I got to watch people get dressed up in the cyber outfits. Insane. I mean, this was like a ton of little detail for a con. So, I was the only Romana in the whole building. I'm sure I'm going to be revealing it to certain people, but I was literally the only Romana in the building, from what I could tell. I might have been wrong, I might have missed it, but there was a lot of Sixies, a lot of Matt Smiths. There was a beautiful River Song costume that was so detailed. There was a lot of Perrys, obviously, because Nicola Bryant was going to be there. And, honestly, there was a lot of costumes. So, we went into the main hall. And, obviously, we got the opening. You know, you get an opening for a con. We got a lot of welcomes. I'm obviously going to discuss the charity now. I think it's important that we talk about this because Bedford Who is a charity convention. That means the money is going to a good cause. It's going to a charity called SMART. I actually have the link in my notes for you guys, which is a local charity in Bedford. This is a con for the homeless. It makes sure they have hot food, there are day beds to rest in. They also help the homeless transition into getting proper accommodation. And they also help people at risk of homelessness. It is a very good charity, and in this con every year raises money for this charity. Nicola Bryant actually came up with the idea for the charity photo shoot with all of the guests money goes into a bucket, so basically it gets raised up at the end of the day for the con. It's a very, very wonderful charity to go towards, especially because in the UK, the homeless numbers are rising due to the cost of living crisis that go on here. It's going to sound weird, but keep in mind this is live for YouTube. And basically, there's a lot more to the website. Please go and find out what's going on. And if you can donate to the cause, that would be lovely. Even if you just spread word about it, that'll make me happy. This is where we talk about dogs on the street because we did get introduced to our guests. I'm going to talk about our guests now. I'm going to list them off. So we have the 3 doctors for the first time in Bedford Who ever. So we had Colin Baker, who was the 6th Doctor, Joe Martin and David Bradley. And for the companions, etc., we had Wendy Padbury, Nicola Bryan, of course, and Lisa Bowerman, who's the Queen of Big Finish. She plays Bernie Summerfield. Terry Molly, who dressed really cool for the con, FYI. He played Davros. We had not 1, but 2, but 3 Cybermen actors. Sarah Burge, David Banks, and Mark Hardy. I'm going to give you guys a photograph of everybody because I know not everybody's familiar with Doctor Who. I did take a picture. We were allowed to take pictures of the guests. So here's everybody together. You could see Terry a mile away. He's literally dressed in a cyberpunk outfit and it was so cool. So in from the right, Joe Martin, David Bradley, Colin Baker, Wendy Padbury, Nicola Bryan. For some reason, I'm terrible with surnames and names. Terry Molly, Sarah Berger, David Banks. Mark Hardy, David Banks, all here. It was a big panel. It was quite hard to get a photograph, guys. I might have fucked up that order, but I'm reading it off my list because I want to make sure I remember names. I'm terrible with names, as you guys know, other than ones I hear all the time. This is when we come in to talk about Nicola Bryan's charity, which does lean a little bit into the first charity. It's called dogsonthestreet.org. And basically, it's for dogs that somehow end up on the street by unfortunate circumstances, whether it's abuse, whether it's because their owners died, or if you've become homeless. Dogs on the Street has a service where if you're in fear of homelessness, you could get help from SMART, but also, if you have a pet dog, they are happy to keep them in a specialized sanctuary where they're well taken care of and loved until you get the accommodations you need. But Dogs on the Street is something Nicola Bryan is very passionate about. She rescued her dogs, 2 adoptive dogs, 2 little guys, which she actually told the story of while we were here. So it's Harvey and Marnie. It's Harvey and Marnie. Harvey doesn't remember what happened to him because he was very young when he was rescued. But Marnie, unfortunately, had a difficult fucking life before she came into her mama's home. Apparently, they're very much like a married couple, as for dogs as they go. They're both very, very, very cute and very, very, very sweet. And she's very passionate about pups, but she did say her charity does do a service for if you're worried about homelessness and how that may affect your pets. They have a sanctuary and they run it. Apparently, they're getting acknowledged. They're becoming so known and acknowledged that the special, emergency services have started referring to dogs on the streets when they need a pet-related emergency. So they are legit. I have another photo of the panel here for you guys. I might as well show it because it's very sweet. I thought it's important to talk about this charity because this is what they were raising money for. They have just gotten around about the results. They haven't got the complete money yet. But from the looks of it, from this con alone, they have raised over £15,000 by the end of the day for the raffle, for the charity photo shoot, for the tickets, for everything. Absolutely wonderful. Obviously, if you guys can help out, it'll be lovely. You are helping somebody with this charity out there. Somebody who needs that comfort. Honestly, I would not want to do if I would become homeless and wasn't able to care for Henry anymore. Yeah, there's a lot of sanctuaries in the UK for those animals that are willing to take care of your animals until you find accommodation. But this is a dog-specific charity, but Nicola Bryan is very, very passionate about. There's a lot of dog talk as a result, because she did admit if you mention it to her, she will go on and on and on and on about them. And she's right, she did. So, we're going to keep this photo off because we're up on the panel part of this segment, because this is going to be the first panel that we have for the day. Bedford Who is very guest and fan heavy. So it's about the guest and the fans. It's a very low-key, chill vibe con where nothing crazy happens, but it's very calm. I think it's because the vast majority of neurodivergent people are into Doctor Who, so therefore it is not overstimulating. It's actually the opposite of overstimulating. It's a very chill con hall. Nothing too loud, nothing too quiet, etc. But it's worth mentioning those charities because there's a lot of things going on right now, and I believe if you want to do some good, even just like $1 or something might be able to help. You don't have to mention me as your guidance there. Just make sure you can do what you do. But it's actually a very rare occurrence for Bedford Who that we have 3 doctors at one con, you know. So it's been a wonderful occasion. After all of the welcomes were done, there was a comfort break, as they called it. And they said, if you want comforting, now's the time. Obviously as a joke, because everybody's little shits at this con. The cafe was packed. Like, this building had a cafe attached to it, not exactly run by the con, but this building in general has a cafe. And oh my god, the line was packed. You can tell a bunch of people had to drive in extra early, because everybody was trying to get coffee at once. Me and Anime kind of got the idea that we probably would have to go out for lunch. And luckily there's like a supermarket like 2 minutes down the road, literally a walk away. So that was our plan. Because although the cafe was convenient, which is why the lines were long, the building was very hot, and we probably would have wanted a break from all the hustle and bustle later. I also checked out the dealer's room at one point. I can't remember when, but I bought a couple of Big Finish CDs that I wanted to buy, which were only being sold for £5 which was cheap as shit. Brand new, sealed. Yeah, we also got the best parking spot. I think they thought I was a child, because Anime asked, that reminds me, Anime asked if the child and, adult parking spot was okay, because he didn't know that rule changed because of the con. I went, yeah, it's fine. I think they thought I was a child, but I was dressed as Romana, and Romana is a thing for school uniforms, which is why I chose the outfit that I did. Nobody recognized I was Romana yet. By the way. So after the break, we got to sit back down. Not much happened during the break. So we got a question. So the con runner started off with a question and allowed the guests to ask questions. So let me look at my notes, which one stood out to me. One of the really interesting questions to me, in my opinion, was, what did you wanted to do before you started acting? Both Wendy and Nicola, ironically, wanted to be dancers before they chose to act. Wendy was told she had flat feet and didn't have the correct proportions to be a successful dancer, so her dancing career for ballet ended at 11 years old. And of course, in a bit of a cheeky way, she wrote a letter to London for an opportunity to get into acting. And she wrote it behind her parents' back, so they had no idea she did this, by the way. And they actually wrote back and asked her to come on down for this appointment. So she had to tell her parents, and instead of getting angry, they're like, oh, wonderful, a day trip to London. So they actually headed down to London, and well, the rest was history. The rest was history. Nicola wanted to be a dancer too, but she's a chronic asthmatic. And her parents were so worried, they were like, no. So she decided to go into acting instead, and her first job had 3 whole lines. And she still remembers them. They were about potatoes, and she still remembers them off the top of her head. It was when she fell in love with acting, because even though she was playing a minor part, she felt like a part of something. A part of a big thing, and she had been acting since. Lisa Bowerman wanted to go to drama school like her brother, Robin Bowerman. And she had to pluck up the courage to tell her parents she wanted to go into acting like her brother. And she was like, I kind of want to go to drama school. And her parents were like, oh no, not another one. And they basically pushed her brother and talk her out of it. Obviously, it didn't fucking work, and here we are. Actually, they were asked, Lisa wanted to talk about one of her favorite experiences during acting. So Lisa was in a British TV show, medical drama called Casualty. And there was one time she got to drive an actual ambulance for a scene. And she said it was bloody awesome. She got to turn on the fucking sirens and she got to drive as fast as she wanted to for this one part. And it was the only time she was allowed to do so, but it was a very big memory for her. It was a very big memory for her. Yeah, it's your job. I figured you'd like that story. There was a question given to the 3 doctors. I might have to explain this joke. So David Bradley, Joe Martin, and Colin Baker up here in this photo. Not Wedby Padbury, who Colin was hugging. If they all were to be an episode together in a 3 Doctors episode, who would be the dandy and who would be the clown? Of course, this caused laughter because back at the 3 Doctors, they used to squabble. So they had to send in the first Doctor to go between them. And he went, "Oh, so you are my replacements. The dandy and the clown." Eventually, after much bickering, I think it was David Bradley who was a bit confused. It was David Bradley who was absolutely confused, and I explained it to him. And they had to argue between them who it was. But Joe Mann decided that she would take being the dandy. And Colin was like, "Well, I'll just swoop in and be the freaking clown." You know what? He had the right outfit for it back in the day, so, yeah. And there was a lovely question. I don't know when it was asked, but Colin Baker has actually a very similar sentiment towards the Doctor to me and his character. So they asked him, "Do you think the Doctor is nice?" Which is actually a brilliant question. Colin said, "Nice depends on perspective, but I always describe the Doctor as someone who would step over the dead body of a human being to help a butterfly with a broken wing, because he sees all life as equal. He doesn't see a human as less important than, say, a butterfly." Which is probably my favorite descriptions. I know he said it in a previous interview, but it's my favorite description of the Doctor. He sees every life as equal, and therefore he would help the butterfly with the broken wing when somebody else is dead, not out of callousness, but because the butterfly was still alive and needed saving. And I think that is a beautiful perspective, and I think it's my favorite perspective. I also agreed with Colin's opinion of the Doctor holding a cyber gun. There's multiple controversies. This happened twice, by the way, with the previous Doctor before him and himself, where the Doctor handled a cyber gun to kill someone, a Cyberman usually. It caused controversy because there was a strong belief the Doctor should never handle a gun. Like Colin, I disagree. I believe the fact the Doctor hardly handling a weapon makes it more impactful when he does. Because he's such a pacifist that when somebody makes him pick up the weapon, it should be in a dire, horrific situation where even he feels it's no mercy. I 100% agree with Colin here. He very much has a very similar opinion to me on the Doctor, I think, which is kind of comforting, because some people argue the toss with me about that one. Eventually, after a long conversation, we went into lunch break. The cafe was even more packed, so we walked down to Morrison's because we needed to eat. I was kind of overwhelmed a little bit, so I didn't eat much, but it was actually sunny after the weather said it was going to be shit, but it was windy as fuck. I almost lost my hat twice, so I had to carry it. It was really funny walking up to the Morrisons because you could tell who was going to the con, by the way. They were coming out in fezzes. They were coming out in costume, which probably was amazing for people getting the grocery shopping. So anyway, we ate some food and I managed to get back because the autograph session was happening after lunch. And I had a Big Finish CD now I wanted signed because I was looking for something that I could keep that I wanted signed. Something I could keep safe. So basically, I got back, brought one of my Big Finish CDs that I managed to snag from the dealer's room for ridiculously cheap. And I managed to get in the short line for Colin. Colin Baker, I was expecting it to be swamped, but he was actually really short-lined. I was really nervous coming up. It was my first time doing something like this. He was really warm. He was really sweet. I told him my IRL name, the shortened version of my IRL name that you guys don't hear. And basically, he asked me if it's the Irish or the English spelling, and it's permanent to me because nobody ever asks that. No English person normally ever asks that, and I kind of appreciate it. But you see, the problem is I was nervous. So I went, no, it's the English spelling, but my username is Irish, and he froze. I was so embarrassed. I was so nervous trying to pretend to be incognito that I revealed myself. So this is a message to Colin if this ever gets out to him. I am so sorry. But at least you know I'm Angelic Fia now, so you know it's an Irish name. You know it's an Irish name. I mean, the poor guy, he was so sweet too. He signed the physical copy, like the insert at the beginning, and he was so sweet and warm about it, like legit. And Nicola's in the same audio drama, so I wanted to get it signed by Nicola too. The line for Nicola was huge. I can understand why. She got chatty. She was really sweet. Even though we were told this con, they wanted it to be brief, Nicola was very, very sweet person. It was way longer, but the line did go down eventually. She was a very gentle person. That's what I could say about her. As a person, she was extremely gentle. She signed it too, and she actually signed the name Perry right beneath her signature. It was really cute, with a little heart at the top of the eye. It was so cute. I might censor my name and show you guys. But she wrote in stuff like love and luck, and you know, she's like a sweet person. You could tell she's also such a warm person. No, I didn't get to use my joke, but we're gonna get into that. Because before then, I forgot to write this down. There was the charity shoot, which is the whole guests together. You pay a donation for the charity into the bucket, and you get a picture with everybody. And I thought, I might never do this again, at least in this country. I want to get this picture. So I put some money into the bucket, and I got a picture. The first picture I've gotten with Anime, because he's so camera shy, but he was willing to do it. I'm glad I've got it. It's a private picture for me. But Lisa Bauman said, oh, you're Romana, aren't you? I was like, somebody recognized! Somebody recognized! I could feel like she wanted to talk about it so bad, but she didn't have time. But we got our picture done. But she recognized I was Romana. I mean, I have the hair color for Romana IRL too. It's fucking crazy. I didn't have time to see anybody else, which is a shame. An absolute shame. I hope to see the others at other cons, but I didn't have time. I wanted to get my Big Finish CD signed. So after the break, we're going to go into the theme of the con, which is the Cybermen. You saw a lot of the Cybermen props I was posting earlier. Well, we've gone full circle. Basically, we have so many of the cyber actors from one episode, one serial set, that they might as well have them all on along with Nicola and Colin. Unfortunately, Wendy Padbury and Joe Martin had to disappear because they had another con in Kent the day after, which is crazy. So they had to leave and get there in time. It's crazy. They were so busy. But this puzzle was the most interesting for me. So we got a whole thing about how the Cybermen costumes worked, right? So basically, they were really challenging to act in. They were absolutely challenging to get in and out of, and challenging to work with. Some of the earliers literally knocked you in with a screwdriver. Your helmet was screwed on, and you were trapped, which sounds horrifying. Colin basically joked, if I knew that, I would have carried around a screwdriver just waving it in front of you between takes, because, you know, he's a bit of a mischievous guy. Sarah, who was in the same episode, played Rust. Sarah the Mask was super uncomfortable. I probably pronounced that wrong earlier, but I'm tired. I'm still tired. Sarah the Mask was super uncomfortable for her, even though it wasn't a cyber mask, because hers was literally wrapped Velcro, and she was deeply strapped in, and it was hard to remove yourself. She had hard bubble wrap around her neck and an Edwardian-style collar, and bubble wrap all over her body. It was sweltering her, uncomfortable, and terrible to move in. Like, you have to have, like, a costume test when you wear a full-body costume for sci-fi like this. So you had to be taught how to act in it. And David Banks talked about how one time he was told by a director that he needed to somehow show which Cyberman was speaking. Because, obviously, they have no facial expressions. They're in a cyber helmet. You saw the helmets earlier and the props, and impossible to show expression in. But turning your head in the earlier cyber costumes was impossible. You could not turn your head. So, basically, it's the reason why in some of the earlier cyber stories, you see them move their whole upper body. Apparently, it was literally because they had no choice. Because they couldn't turn their heads very far. I mean, apparently one of them could move their head to one side. So they'd purposely turn away from the person they were speaking to make it look like they were talking. But it was literally the only head movement they had back in the day. And that was basically the only solution they can think of. Obviously, they added the lights in later for later iterations of the Cybermen, as you guys know. And that's part of the reason why. It was very difficult for the costume actors to indicate who was talking. Terry was on, and he did say Davros was really uncomfortable back in the day too. He was strapped into the costume and strapped into like a shopping trolley-like thing at the bottom, as you know with Davros. And there were occasions where they go, right, it's break time, and they literally forgot him. He was in this sweltering hot latex mask. Keep in mind that under studio lights, and studio lights are fucking hot as shit. And he was like, actually, I'd like to go for a wee too. And they would leave him. It's largely uncomfortable. He was in there for hours. He basically claims why his voice would drop significantly is because it was hella uncomfortable and impossible to breathe in that thing. Alright, we have a funny story I have to tell you guys about, because some of you don't know about. Yeah, it is an oof. It was horrific, apparently. I get to talk to you guys about Doctor in Distress. So somebody on the panel asked about Doctor in Distress to Colin. I'm going to go through some history here. So, during the Colin Baker era, the current CEO of the BBC absolutely hated Doctor Who and wanted it cancelled. In an effort to save it, they played this song, which I might use as a meme for the channel now because I've remembered it exists. You can blame this person asking the question for this. But I'm going to play it for you now, chat. It's horrible. Awful. It's hell. Enjoy. Enjoy Doctor in Distress. It's sold so poorly, it couldn't even fund the charity it was made for, guys. So bad. You guys are actually dancing to it. I was thinking about making us my puddy puddy. You can see in Colin's eyes in this video. He's already regretting this. How high were they when they made Doctor in Distress? It was intended that proceeds for the single will go to charity cancer relief, now Macmillan Cancer Support. However, sales were so poor that it failed to recover expenses. Nobody went to charity. Yeah. The single, which was released on Friday the 15th of March 1985, was universally panned and failed to chart in the UK. The BBC refused to broadcast the song on grounds of poor quality. Dear God. The way his head went into his hands and he started laughing in embarrassment the second somebody brought up Doctor in Distress was insane. He literally just lost his shit before he answered. And he went, well, you see, I was convinced it was a good idea. And I regretted it very quickly. That was pretty much the sum up of what he said. He realized very quickly this was a terrible idea, and you know what? Thank you for the content. So yeah, everybody was in general talking about the inconvenience of some of these costumes. So Nicola Bryant stands up and says, but this is because of what Colin said. Colin decided to be funny and say, oh, my coat was a little warm, which of course caused the audience to laugh, but Nicola turned around him to him and asked, so how many scars can you say you've gotten from your costumes? There was silence. And Nicola points out, she has gotten frostbite, pneumonia, and now has a permanent scar on her knee. Obviously, this permanent scar on her knee caused people to ask, well, what happened? How did you get a permanent scar on her knee? It was actually obtained during the 5th Doctor era when she first started going on to Doctor Who. So Nicola, inexperienced with this sort of, type of TV show, looks at the script and it says, Perry falls down the side of a volcano. So Nicola goes up to the director to ask about it and goes, so what does this mean? And then she goes, it's all camera angles, darling. And that tells her absolutely nothing. So of course they get to the scene. She was hung from a steep, straight drop from a rope, which in post-editing they actually made look way less steep and at an angle to look more like a volcano, I suppose. But it was actually straight and steep. So what they did was, they would say, action, and she was dropped. But her legs were caught and mangled on the rocks because she didn't know what she was supposed to do in this situation. And her leg was cut apart. For this part, they made her wear a tan. They made her do a tan. And if your skin is tanned, these marks show way more horrifically. So basically, by the end of the scene, everybody acted annoyed with her. She was gushing blood from her legs. And everybody was annoyed with her for bleeding. And she was all apologetic because she was new to this, wasn't she? And she was younger. And she was asked if she sued for that. And she went, no, she probably should have, but she didn't. And everybody sighed and went, oh, of course. Because she said she basically thanked them for being injured, which gave me a vibe. This isn't the only person in the group to have experienced a bit of an injury for this, because you see, Perry back in the day especially, they purposely were trying to dress her to appeal to the dads watching. So you got to keep in mind she was wearing really short shorts. Her legs were very exposed to the elements and injury. I like Perry as a character, but it bothered me a little bit they did that to her because, God, those outfits were so inconvenient. She wasn't the first frostbite complaint. I think Katie Manning said, so go-go boots were really popular in the UK around the 60s, and they made her wear them in sub-zero temperatures, so her toes almost got frostbite one time during one story. I can't remember which one, but apparently that was something that has been reported before as the frostbite. But yeah, she got up jokingly, jumped up and said, I win! Because she got so many fucking issues, pneumonia and everything. Oh my God, a poor woman. We eventually had a bit of a break, before the skit segment. So so basically there wasn't much happening during the break. It's supposed to just walk around, get some fresh air or whatever. And there was a skit. Every year they do a skit. They write a skit for the actors to do. So this year they were putting Terry on trial for things he said about Doctor Who in the past decades. He was being trialed for offense to the fandom. Are you guilty or very guilty? Colin was, of course, the judge. We were all told to rise. And this was hilarious. Everybody sat down before he told everybody to sit down, and he was obviously like, wow, whatever, I guess. It was a little bit like improvised here and there, obviously. He was like, well, you may be seated. So he listed off all the things that Terry did, which included saying the Daleks were shit and could be easily beat by running up the stairs, saying Star Trek is better than Doctor Who, and actually calling the Doctor Doctor Who, even though we all know he's called the Doctor. Don't tell them that I call him Dr. Whomst for funny ha-has, because they would send me up on trial too, and it's going to be very hard with this model. He eventually, the skit went to the end after he got insulted by multiple of the actors about how terrible he is. He apologized profusely, begged for mercy, to which the rest of the guests were willing to forgive him, well, it's not that bad, is it? And he jokingly approached Charlotte with a Dalek gun and said he was going to exterminate him now, which I get the feeling was a bit more improvised. Oh, the Doctor isn't actually called Doctor. I'm so sorry, Lysa's. I ruined it for you. I should be put on trial for that, actually, just for that alone. Honestly, it's hard to explain to you in passing, but the vibes were immaculate for it. It had to be something that you watched. I'm going to be real. It has to be something that you watched in order to truly enjoy, or something you attend to appreciate. Because the vibes were surreal, you know? What's next? You're gonna tell me this is not a real doctor? No, he isn't. He's called a doctor, but he's not a real doctor, guys. But listen, a lot of things happened that day. There's gonna be things I've forgotten that I might actually mention in passing here and there. But I'm one person with an ADHD memory, so I'm going through this timeline as well as I can, okay? Okay, so before the end of the con, there's the infamous TARDIS tin, except in this con, the TARDIS tin brings out the weird questions. So these are funny questions that may bring out the weird stories in some of the actors. One of the funniest questions, in my opinion, this is going to be not in exact order, but I'm going to tell you them anyway, is, what is the weirdest thing you have signed? And the answer, 3 of the guests had a good answer to this. Colin said, he was sitting at his table, right? Normal day signing. And a lady comes up to his table and goes, "Can you sign my breast implant?" And he was baffled and was all like, what, is it in you? And she replied, "No, my old one," and slapped this big fucking old breast implant on his table. He signed it anyway because what the hell? But it was something he remembers to this day because it's fucking surreal. Nicola Bryan was in her first few years of Doctor Who. She went over to a con in America to do an autograph session. And this guy comes up to her table and goes, "Can you sign my ass?" And he gets out his ass because he's going to get it tattooed to his ass. And she does it, and the most awkward part of the situation is where her fucking left hand went in order to sign this thing. There's only one place it can go, and that's the other fucking cheek. It was so awkward. So she said somewhere out there in America, there's a guy with her name on his ass. And the third one was from Terry. He said he had someone approach his table cosplaying Leela. The whole get-up, the cave woman get-up. Perfectly replicated. But they wanted him to sign his costume. But there was one thing wrong with this situation for him, and that was, this guy was a massive bearded man. He got a sudden case of hand cramp. And he went, "Oh no, my hand, it suddenly hurts." And Colin actually scolded him and told him, "You should do it anyway. It's for the fans. You should have done it." Okay, the next question with the funniest stories, in my opinion, was, where or what was the most awkward place/situation were you recognized? Colin obviously started it with, he was in a urinal. He was standing in a urinal doing his business. And a guy went, "Colin Baker?" and asked for his autograph. And he was like, "My hands are kind of occupied right now." But that was something that happened to him. Sarah, in my opinion, had the funniest one because she was literally given birth. Her agent apparently called on the phone to the hospital to mention a job offer for something else. The doctor looks up from between her legs and says, "Oh, you're an actress. Have I seen you in anything?" And she basically replies, "Not at this angle." Lisa Bowerman was recognised walking home late at night in London with an old boyfriend. Her knee gives out and cramps. She lets out a noise, obviously like a scream, because it fucking hurts. This is in the dark in London, by the way. So this guy was looming over her and asks, "Are you Bernie Summerfield?" Apparently he recognised her voice from Big Finish, but that was kind of horrifying. "Yeah, do you want a urine autograph?" I was like, do you want to have urine jobs on your autograph? What the fuck is going on? So obviously when the con ended, we had our goodbyes. We raised a good amount of money from the raffle. I did not win anything, but I did put some money into the pot because fuck it, the money goes to a good cause. And apparently we did go for a significant amount this year. Hopefully we'll break the record of last year. But I deem it a success that we got a significant number of money for charity. So obviously if you want to go to Smart, I advise you do so. Please, 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 please check out the charity if you can do so. It's great to support some local homeless right now in our area and help them get back on their feet. It does all kinds of, like, brilliant things. But basically, that is my card story time, and it took me over an hour to tell you. It was very fun. I was dressed as Romana. I apologize to Colin Baker for my awkwardness. I swear I am funny on the internet. I promise you, I am ha-ha hilarious.